Look at this. How long has it been since we saw this scene? I don't remember, actually. It's that far away. I don't remember. Good morning, good morning. A little bit gray. Beautiful, beautiful sunny weekend we've had. The weather might be changing a little bit. We're going to get cloudy patches and perhaps some rain maybe tomorrow. Not sure. Look at this guy. Headphones and a phone. Doesn't even know where he is. So what's the work today? What's the work? I had planned a sizing stream. I've got to do sizing sometime today. The shop's going to be busy, so I guess it'll have to be tonight. Sizing for Chihadu-san's next job. Someone's asking, is the paper out? No, there's no paper out, neither yesterday, the day before, nor today, nor tomorrow. 4 days with no printers here. Next printers will be here on Wednesday, I think. They take this holiday stuff seriously. Although having said that, actually there was a printer here yesterday. There was not a happy event, but there was a printer here yesterday. Dei-chan came over, cleaned up her desk. She's gone for the next, no idea, year, 2 years, no idea. Okay. My bad. I know. You saw me talk about the Patreon chibis. I think we looked at the blocks. Maybe Taran-san carved the blocks. Test printing is going on. The Patreon chibis for 2025 summer are being printed as we speak. The first batch of a couple of hundred of them. Taran-san and Mr. K, Kawai-san, they had a meeting here the other day, inspecting the test print and the blocks. And Taran-san did some adjustments. Kawai-san said we're okay. So Patreon chibis are up and running. But in the middle of all that, I neglected to remember that there's the Patreon share certificates, and they're supposed to be ready to ship in May every year. Here we are, 2025, May, and I haven't got the Patreon share certificates ready for this year. Last year we did this one last year, do you remember? We stole another picture from the Hokusai series because I was desperate for time. I sort of cheated a bit. I just made a black and white image with one. So this year for the Patreon share certificates, we've got to go a little bit more up and running. We're going to do 5 or 6 colors on this one. So I've got to get carving. And we don't delegate that job to anybody else. The Patreon share certificates come from Dave. We figure that's the least we can do to, the people are paying good money for this. They're supporting as well. Those people are long-time supporters for the most part. So the feeling is this is not a job that I delegate. This is a job I do myself. So here we are. Now last year I used a whole piece of wood and all we had was one color. Now we don't have a whole lot of wood hanging around upstairs. And I want to do 6 colors, but what I'm thinking is we can do this. If we take a piece of wood, do I have a copy of the share certificate? I don't have one with me, but you can get the idea. If we've got our image for the share certificate, instead of putting it there in the middle, if I move my registration marks over and put it over at that part of the wood, and then move the registration marks up, put it there, turn the block around, put it here, put it there, we can maybe, if the printers are not going to be so happy about this, but we can do it. We can put 4 impressions on one of these pieces of wood. The printers really will not be happy about this because, you've got to be really careful not to bang somewhere else and whatever. But we only make 30 copies of this thing. It's not like we're going to crank out hundreds of copies of it. We're only printing 30 or so copies. So let's do this. Now I'm thinking I'd like to use 6 colors. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But unfortunately, last year when I did this, I carved this a bit too far out and there isn't enough room here. So we're going to leave this one aside. Maybe we can use it next year. And pull a new piece of wood. And we're going to try and leave this down on that pattern. Now, what's the image for this year's share certificate? I thought about this long and hard the last couple of days. I've been sitting here in the shop. The shop's been busy. There's been all kinds of stuff going on. But as soon as I realized the other day that I have to do this job, that became my focus the last few days. So I was sitting here in the shop holding my head and holding my hands and chatting with people, doing this and that. And the suggestion came from somewhere, myself or one of the staff members, that this year's share certificate, we could maybe use the occasion to honor somebody else in our organization, as in Kubota-san. Now, I can't make a picture of Kubota-san. I can't specifically say anything about Kubota-san. But what I thought was this. If I steal, I'll pay for it, of course, but I mean, using the word steal, borrow, whatever. I thought about this idea. Steal a clip from one of the images that authorized provided us for this year's Dreams of Future Past series. What's the connection with Kubota-san? But when we printed that thing, I don't know if I've got an image for you. No, I don't have an image for you ready. But when we printed this, it turned out that this was the last job Kubota-san ever did for us, ever did. And the idea that the person standing there looking to the portal to go to the next world. So it was Kubota-san's last print. So I wrote to authorized, but I haven't received an answer from them, but I'm sure they're going to give me the go-ahead. We'll pay them for the royalty for this. Kubota-san, as far as we know, is still there in the hospice, as far as we know. We haven't heard from his daughter. She has strict instructions to let us know of any updates. Updates or down dates. So I have nothing to report on that front, but let's do this. Let's do this. So registration, we have the registration. There's no registration marks visible on this because the registration is the edge of the paper itself. So what we're going to do is these points of the paper will become the registration mark. And as I said, I worked it out last night that if we put it right at the edge like this, we'll be able to print. And I think it's going to take 6 colors. We've got the light black, we'll put the portal black, we've got the watercolor, whatever. We'll do what it takes to make this thing. Now I have a problem, I know a couple of problems. I've got to cut the registration marks here, but my registration chisel is not working because I have abused it greatly over the past couple of weeks. You all know why. So before I can cut the registration marks, I've got to sharpen my chisel back to normal. I really should get another one, obviously. Oops, my camera's flickering at me here. Oh, the power plug has come undone. One sec, if I don't plug in the camera, we'll lose it soon. Hang on. Yo-sho. Oh, my nugget is upstairs. Ooh, it's okay, we can get away with it. Back to normal. We keep a cover for it too, so when it's in the box it doesn't get chipped. Keep a little cover for it. Okay. Someone says, do I do anything to maintain the flatness of my stones? The stones we just used, of course, are metal. I don't have at my desk here the natural stones that I used to use. I used to have a 3. It was a 400 grit, a 1200 grit, and then a very hard, I don't know, X 1000 grit. I no longer use the 400 and the 1200 natural stones. I just use the very hard, fine one, which basically stays flat. Someone's asking about how to keep them flat. There's a page on my old website about that. I used to, for the 400 and the 1200, you would rub them together face to face, and there was a concrete slab outside my house where they had poured one of the sidewalks one day. That was a very nice flat concrete surface. And I used to take my stones out there, put water on the concrete, and face down. It was a very sort of finely finished concrete, not a rough slab. And I finished surfacing my stones by rubbing them outside on a concrete road slab. So the natural stones I did all the time. These metal stones is nothing I do, of course. So. This is not the hardest block in town, and this is not a piece of wood that really would be suitable for key block carving. But as I said, we're only going to be making about 30 or so copies of this print. It doesn't need a long edition. So even on a soft block like this, we'll be able to get copies that we need. It's okay. This is sharp. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Be careful. One of the people in the shop over the weekend, it was whatever, Saturday or Sunday, he was looking at the bench and he's saying, gee, you know, a prisoner lived in Japan. And he said, tell you what, can you let me know, please, when you're going to be working at this bench? Because I'd like to come and see the carving process. And I'm like, well, there's lots of it on YouTube. You can see it anytime on YouTube. And to tell you the truth, this was yesterday when I was chatting with him, or Saturday. I said, there really aren't many times here when I'm carving anymore. I used to be regularly carving at this bench, but these days, and I explained why, I'm upstairs at the printing bench more often. He said, oh, that's too bad. Okay, because I wanted to see you doing some carving. And having said that on Saturday or something, here I am now at this bench going to be carving. This wasn't the plan, but I had totally forgotten about these share certificates. You know. Okay, let's do this. Let's paste this down. Did anyone find out who was behind that snowy print from last stream? I haven't heard anything, and me at this end, I've done nothing about that. I'm sorry that the shop has been what it is the last couple of days. So I've done no research. I've got the print here if we want to see it again. We have a separate show and tell today. We have a fun, good show and tell today. Socks, whatever. Socks will be what they are. We do have a good show and tell today. Yeah, about the socks, I'm not sure what to promise. You know, it's difficult to say sometimes. The prints we're going to show in the show and tell today are actually, to me, extremely interesting. When I say it's not a sock thing, to me, it's not something that's going to just blow me away like I've never seen anything like that before, you know, whatever. They are good, fun, interesting prints. So, yeah, just I don't know how to use the analogy, the comparison to socks or whatever. But yeah, they're pretty special prints, actually. Without teasing what's going to happen, I can tell you, I showed you a print on show and tell some weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago. And it really was interesting. It was sock material. I had never seen anything like this. It blew us all away. But I took note of that print, who designed it, who published it, what was going on. And I learned at that time that there were more in that series. The print we looked at was one of a set of 12. I had never seen it before. I didn't think about it. But we took that knowledge on board, myself and Watanabe-san upstairs. We looked at that print, one of a set of 12. So we now learned more about this, and we've been on the lookout. And now you know what's going on today with show and tell then. We found more prints from the same series. Zodiac set. No, it's not a Zodiac set. Saying 12 like that, it's funny, you know. People might react instantly. Jeff, it's 12, it must be a Zodiac. There's also 12 months in the year. And Japanese publishers have used the 12 very frequently. So no, it's nothing to do with Zodiac, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not a quiz. It's not a puzzle. I wasn't trying to tease anybody here. When's the last time I did this? My God, I don't even know. So what we've tried to do is the image there at the end of the day, once we've finished this block set, to prepare our share certificates. The share certificates will be in this shape. They will be an A4 piece, and there will be inkjet printing, and in the middle at the top will be the woodblock part. So we don't need to keep the whole piece of wood. All we need is that central area. And what I've done, you may be seeing, I moved the registration marks over. The paper will sit like this. But when it comes printing time, I will put something here, whatever, to support the paper. The paper will be printed just that area. We'll do it again here, and again here. So one piece of wood, if we do this properly, I should be able to get 8 color zones from one chunk of wood. Because the registration marks don't have to sit in the corner. There's another thing about this print. The share certificate, because the image is right up at the top, and we saw this on one of our show and tell prints last week, there's no way that we would print this with the registration marks at the bottom and then reaching up and printing up here. That would move the critical part a long distance from the registration marks, which means if there was a tiny bit of misregistration down here, it would leverage into a big misregistration up here. So we always want the registration marks to be close by the critical parts of the image. I guess the one last week or so when we were looking at this, it had been, what was it? It was a beauty standing up, and the head was here, and there wasn't much at the bottom. So the publisher had arranged the registration mark to be at the top rather than at the bottom. And that's what we're doing here. So we're going to print this thing upside down. We'll be printing it upside down. It won't matter, of course, once they're finished. I'm sure the customers can easily turn it right side up. And look at that. We got a full piece of Gumby. We could absolutely use this again. This is what we peeled off the back. Fabulous stuff. Fabulous. There's a tiny bit of backstory here on this. I'm going to pass this on to you as a little thing that I heard. I don't know if this is true or not. The Gumby that we use for peeling off like this, we order from a place in Shiga Prefecture. It's an area where traditionally Gumby paper was made. You know, our Hosho paper comes from Echizen, the Mino paper comes from Gifu Prefecture, different kinds of paper come from different parts of the country. And Gumby, it's made all over the place, but the place we get it from is in Shiga Prefecture, an elderly couple running their business, making very, very nice Gumby. We've been getting paper from them for years and years and years. It's really, really quite nice. We had a problem, was it, I don't really know, 3, 4, 5 years ago? We wanted to get some paper and they couldn't make it for us. They said, no, he's in hospital for a while. I'm sorry, we can't do that. But they did come up with some paper for us and whatever, blah, blah, blah. When I was at Murata-san's place, one of the trips recently in the past few months, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months ago, whatever, I don't remember which one, when I was at Murata-san's place, I had been talking to her about Gumby paper because she wants to make Gumby. The workshop that she's renting now was pretty much a Gumby specialist place when she first started working there 20 plus years ago. Anyway, I had shown her this paper and she said, oh, that was made right here. She recognized the Gumby and she said, yeah, that was made in this workshop where I'm learning now. So the people we ordered it from in Shiga Prefecture, because they had had supply problems that year, had used an outside contractor to make the paper from it, for it. And Murata-san didn't make it herself, but she said, I know where that was made, right here. So here we are. You know, Dave here can look at a woodblock print and sometimes tell you quite a bit about where it was and where it came from, whatever. Murata-san can look at a piece of washi and say, that was made in this building, you know. It's a piece of paper, but my God, someone's asking, how could you recognize? It's got characteristics. It's got a certain translucency, the way the fibers are rocked together, the way the fibers have been boiled. I mean, come on, professional paper maker can see things that you and I just don't have a clue about. I'm halfway there because I look at paper and use it all the time. I'm not about to try and tell you. Well, I could. If you give me some Hosho paper, I can tell you that's Iwano's paper. Anyway, she knew exactly what it was. Okay, let's do this. Now. Do I remember how to carve? Same situation. Let's go up a little bit. Did anything come from that college that was growing gumpy? I don't know. I'm not in the loop on that stuff. I had just simply heard the story that day. It's a very, very, very long-term project. I'm not in touch with what's going on. If it does move forward and they are successful at growing gumpy at that place, then eventually the stuff will come through to the market. But I don't have any other knowledge to bring to you at the moment. It was just I was passing on something that had been seen, that I had seen there, you know. It wouldn't be a question of day-to-day updates. The thing they were working on was a multi-years project. It's almost generational. Not almost, it is. It's generational. I'm using the larger stone here because it's difficult to get the angle here on this thing. And I want as much, what's the word? Once I get the angle here, boom, 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 I want effective cutting. And if it was a little short one, chicka, 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 doesn't really give me. And I'm fooling around trying different angles. But here, by getting the angle set, and bang, we're actually done. That was enough. What we just did was enough to sharpen this thing. It wasn't a broken tip, it just needed touching up. This is the 1000 grit. We'll now touch the back flat on the same stone to take off that burr. Then back to the same stone we used a minute ago. If you've seen Taran-san or whatever sharpening, you'll see he sharpens sideways, the old traditional way. Dave never learned how to do that. And there's plus and minus to both ways, actually. The way I'm doing it is actually quite efficient. It's difficult at the beginning, because when you're doing this, it's really easy to rock. I'm using, maybe if you can see my elbow, if I move it down. The idea is my forearm should be keeping straight here. Look at this. I can't see both. So I'm not rocking, rolling, rocking, rolling. I've put this thing at an angle here, and my forearm should be just pumping, keeping my hand absolutely straight on this. So it does work if you use the geometry right. Taran-san and the traditional carvers, they do it sideways, doom, 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 which for me, I didn't even know about at the beginning, but once I saw it, I tried it, and it was just, it's chaos at the beginning. You're rolling, rolling, you can never keep it flat. Taran-san pushed through, and he's learned how to do it that way. It'll be much better in the future. And if I were starting out all over again, I guess it would make sense to do that. But at this age now, there's no way I'm going back to change and try and do it that way. And this is a major thing. We're going to do this. Taransan, I've heard now, is going to be streaming more and more on Twitch. And this is a huge, huge, huge benefit for the viewers. You know, lots of people have grown up on this. They've seen me doing it, and I get the work done. I'm good at this. But I've talked about this before. I'm a bit of a hacker. Whereas Taransan is coming to this through being trained more carefully by an older carver. So the value he brings to this is way on top of what I'm doing, assuming he keeps going and gets really good at this, you know. So it's perfect. It's not two guys actually doing the same thing. There's real value in watching both of us. Okay, let's put knife to wood. I'll need my scope, of course. I can no longer see anywhere near good enough to carve. If I didn't have this tool, this scope, I would be finished, just retired out the door. Selling prints instead of making them. This is no longer just a tool to help me. This is essential to my work. I simply can't see well enough to carve. We're not using it at super high magnification. It's hard to tell. We've talked about this before. If I sit back here, if I look at the guy's hat and look at the guy's hat, it's hard to tell. It's maybe 2.5, 3 times as large. So it's enlarged, but it's not dramatic. We're not looking at that bacteria walking across the wood here. Okay, let's get the spot and zoom in. Well, it is a hard carbon steel. I'm not sure. You're talking about the blades. Our blades, knives, our blades, whatever, they are double-sided. The back side, the side that you just saw me sharpen, is a very hard carbon steel, brittle, but really takes an edge. It would perhaps break if we put too much pressure on it, so it's backed or topped by a softer steel. The part that you see the scratch marks on. This was a bit too thick when I got it, so I filed off at the top some of the softer steel. I don't know, is it half and half or 1/3? I don't know the proportions. Just say half and half, whatever. Soft steel for strength and hard steel for sharpenability. It's a very common technique in Japan. In the old days, the swords, it was a laminate. The samurai sword, the cutting part was the hard steel, and it was sandwiched between steel that was less brittle. You're talking about the water. The water flask is for light diffusion. There it is. There's a light behind it, shining through the flask. We're not magnifying. We're diffusing the light here. So I get a wonderful diffusion, smooth light across the carving surface. Let's see. How long's it been since I did this? God, do I remember how to do this? This is soft wood. It's not suitable for being a key block. Oh, yo, 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 yo. Knife wants to go too deep. don't have any oil. I took it upstairs to the printing bench. Can't be helped. No, I said 30 as just what I meant was, it's not exactly 30, of course. The point was the print I'll be making will be a very short run print. These are our share certificates. We'll be making only a few dozen copies and then the blocks won't be used again. For our normal prints, we want the blocks to last as long as possible, certainly hundreds and hundreds of copies. But this special case block will only be a limited run. It's not a policy change. We don't do limited editions. It's simply the use case. This is for our share certificate for this year. And as a matter of course, it just will only make a few dozen copies. But the hardness isn't just about the wear and tear, it's about the way it cuts, you know. Because it's soft, it's much more difficult to cut these lines. You know. The knife goes in too far. Did Dave mention if this is one of the blocks he made this week? No, it's not. I know we put some pictures on Instagram. The blocks that I made the other day will all go to Taransan. They will be used for the color blocks for the July print in the Dreams of Future Past series. The theme on that one is, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, it's a nostalgic view, whatever. You'll see when it comes up. So the blocks I made last week were illustrated on our Instagram page yesterday. This block it's larger than the block. This is the block size that we use for Etne. You saw the prints we were making of Manazuru Harbor. Remember Ishikawa-san made some Manazuru Harbor prints a while ago. This block size is the same as that. This is something else, and if you're going to be comparing and watching the two streams, Dave's streams and Taransan's carving streams, he would never do what I just did, and the traditional carvers would never have done what I just did. They would start with their knife, and Taransan will be doing the same. He starts with his cutting knife and cuts lines, and pretty much just keeps cutting lines, doesn't do any clearing work until all the line cutting is done. That's the sensible, efficient way to do this, and it's the way the old guys did it. Myself, having again just come to this learning by myself and just doing it in some sort of way that felt natural to me, I've been doing it by zones and by areas. Like you can see, Dave's going to cut this hat and then we'll clear the hat. Then he'll move on to the coat and cut the coat and clear the coat. And it's sort of inefficient in the sense that you're picking up tools, putting something down, you're picking them up, putting them down, rather than concentrating on one specific aspect of the job. But it's never been about super efficiency for me. It's just about been about the way I feel comfortable doing the work, you know. And what I did find when I first learned that they do it that way, and I guess from talking to Ito-san, people like this, I did actually try it that way for a couple of prints. And I gave up and went back to this way. Because what I found was that when you cut the lines and then move to the clearing stage, it's sometimes actually very difficult to see which lines you've cut and which ones you haven't. And I found occasions where I was trying to clear something and it turned out that I hadn't cut the lines. And the wood would chip up and I would end up screwing up and spoiling something. Whereas if I do it this way, I know I've cut all the lines inside that hat. Clear it. It's clean and clear and done. So it's not that my way is something inefficient and bad and difficult. It's its own way of doing things. But perhaps not mechanically as efficient because of the time spent picking up and putting down tools. But it works, you know, it works. It's also, what's the word? I can't think of the word. It's pleasing, not pleasing, it's the pleasure of, like, the hat is done. There's that pleasure, that's done. And then I move on and carve the cloak here. And then there will be, yes, I get a little, yeah, finished, move on to something else. So there's the continuous little small pleasures of getting that done, moving on to this, getting that done all the way through. Whereas if I did it the traditional way, did nothing but cutting first and then moving to the chisel, I would feel more stressed that way. Anyway, it's totally irrelevant to the job. At the end of the day, the finished block doesn't know. There's nobody could look at a finished block and really tell which of the systems a person used to carve it. It's just personal choice, you know. But for sure, if Asuka Sensei, Taransan's teacher, if he saw me, he'd think, oh, Jesus, what a time waster. Maybe it's also focus, you know. You get in the zone, focusing with your knife. Keep cutting, keep cutting, keep cutting, keep cutting. But every time you change and pick up another chisel, your focus changes, you know. Anyway, we are who we are, and at my stage now, there's no way I'm going to... The guest we had that made those giant prints, yeah, she doesn't work like this for sure. She's working with her, she's carving with her shoulders. And I've trained a bunch of printmakers to be inefficient as well. Well, whatever, you take what you come, you know. It's up to you. I guess there might be that feeling out there somewhere. I don't know. I know most of the people working in Japan here as carvers, Asuka Sensei, Taran-san, people over in the Kumiai, the guild, Sekyoku-san and whatever, I don't know. Most of them are really not, the older carvers, most of them are really not aware of what I'm doing, so it doesn't matter. But, if they were aware of this, there could be a feeling that, oh my God, he's got all these thousands of people watching this and he's perverting them. This isn't how it's done. This guy is doing it the wrong way. Don't look. Avert your eyes. I don't know. Nothing I can do about it now, and I don't care. I think the benefit of bringing people to this craft and showing this stuff and doing it, I think that far outweighs any small negative that I don't do things exactly the quote right way, unquote. Oh well, can't be helped. How's our time? I get no sense of time now with this kind of a carving stream. Where are we? 8:48. We're more than halfway through. We'll keep carving here till about 9:15 or so. Maybe we could. The show and tell is quite extensive. I think there's 6, 7, or 8 prints in there, so we could switch to show and tell somewhere around 9:10 or something like that. I think. I don't know. And today's Monday. It's a national holiday here, so there won't be any office people. Sadako won't be coming. Ayana won't be coming. There won't be anybody coming in to say hello just after 9 o'clock. There will be shop staff coming today, but they all show up nearly 9:30, just as our stream is closing. So today and tomorrow are national holidays. The shop's open today, Monday. The shop will be closed tomorrow. The idea was on the table that we could open the shop tomorrow, given that it's a national holiday and that there will be lots of people in the district. But we thought, and I think it's better to stick to our pattern. Our fans and visitors, whatever, they're trained. Mokuhankan's closed Tuesdays. And because it's a national holiday, that doesn't mean there's going to be more foreigners in the district, because visitors don't even know about the holidays. So we decided just to stick to our pattern. Open every day, closed Tuesdays. So if you're in Tokyo while you're watching this, we're open today, but not tomorrow. And nobody is getting an email, so we put a notice on the shopping cart to mention to people if they're ordering stuff online over the past couple of days, including today and tomorrow, there won't be responses. There's no shipping, the post office is closed, and the office staff is not here to write a thank you letter or whatever, So if you have contacted us the past few days and with no reply, don't panic. It's the Golden Week holiday. Everybody here will be back at it on Wednesday, trying to chew through a very thick inbox. What was the last previous print I carved? Was it the explosion, the Hokusai series? the explosion. When was that? That would have been last fall. Is that the last one I did? I don't remember. Do we keep the shop open during Golden Week? Yeah, Japanese holidays are not relevant to us at all. We're retail, and retail shops are open on holidays anyway. So Golden Week affects us upstairs, the office people. It doesn't affect the shop. Our shop is open all the time, closed Tuesdays. The office is closed on holidays. Carving has changed over the years to a great extent. You're talking about the shallowness. In the Meiji era, it really, really did hit an astonishing level of shallowness. We have some blocks from that era that are incredibly shallow. And we've had sometimes trouble with some of the carvers here who want to do it that way and carve as shallowly as possible. The problem comes, of course, at printing time. Many of those prints, the blocks we see that are carved extremely shallowly, were ready for kuchie. They were going to be printed on extremely thin paper, strongly calendared. The paper is extremely thin, and you can get away with a very shallow carving. These days, we're printing on a thicker, fluffier Hosho paper. And inevitably, there's some push down between the lines if we haven't calendared the paper. And if you carve to the same thinness as those Meiji era blocks we had used for reference, then the print is going to get spoiled. It's going to get marks all over it. So we've had sometimes, in the past few years, sometimes some extreme tension between carvers and printers. Carvers saying, oh, this is the way it was done, this is the way we should be doing it. And printers saying, that's a nice dream, but we can't frickin' do that with contemporary paper. So we have to send the block back to the carver, deepen it, which they don't want to do. So there has been this stress and tension. For myself over the years, this was never a problem. I quickly learned exactly what I needed because I carved the blocks and then I put my carving tools away, got the printing tools out and printed it. And I would really learn, that's not going to work. So for me, it's never been a problem. I carve somewhat deeper than a Meiji era person would carve. Not so deep that it's difficult to print, deep enough so that there's no, what they call ketsu, the blots that come when the paper hits a part that's not carved deeply enough. But it's an ongoing issue for us, always. This wood is too soft. It's too soft. There's no way if we had hairlines or something, not on this piece of wood. I think on this block, this is about the most delicate stuff we're going to see, so it's okay. But it's too soft, absolutely. A related issue there then is the question of these prints that we make for the Patreon people, the Patreon chibi prints and the Patreon shares. To date, we have never issued them other than to the people who are part of the Patreon project. But we get requests all the time. Someone will, for example, sign up for the Patreon this year, get these prints, and they will say, can I buy the ones from previous years? You know, can I donate or whatever and get the previous Patreon prints? And to date, we've never done that. We've never, people joining up, they get the current prints and that's it. We haven't ever pulled the blocks off the shelf and gone back and reprinted them. I think I brought this up every now and then. I ask something on the stream, you know. There are people both ways. There are people who would like to get those prints, and there are people who said, Dave, don't do that. Leave it as an exclusive thing. The people who were fans and supporters back in 2022 or whatever, they got those prints, and they're the only people who will ever have those prints. So I don't know. Normally we don't do limited editions, but this stuff has become just a de facto limited edition stuff. You know. Don't know. Might be missing so many questions, I don't know. Someone's asking, that would have been a great question to ask Kubota-san. What did he prefer? I don't know what the question was. You talk about the shallowness. The shallowness, the answer, it sounds like I'm being sarcastic here, but Mr. Lincoln had the only possible answer for the shallowness. How deep to carve. You know what I'm getting at, the question that's presumably answered by Abe Lincoln. How long should a man's legs be? Long enough to reach the ground. And it's the same thing. There's no answer. How deep do we carve? Deep enough so that you don't cause trouble for the printers. And that depends on many, many things. The kind of paper you're using, what style, is it going to be calendared? What's the experience of the printers? You know, it depends. It depends. Someone says, Taran-san once told me to try and aim for 1 to 2 millimeters for depth when carving. Well, I'm sorry, without being argued, it makes no sense. Do you mean 1 millimeter here or 1 millimeter here or in between here? It makes no sense because, of course, the depth varies the farther we get from the line. If you're saying maximum 2 millimeters, no, because out here that paper is going to glitch. So giving a single number, I'm sorry, makes no sense whatsoever. Long enough to reach the ground. We can add one thing to that discussion, how long, how deep. And we talked about this when I was doing a block gluing upstairs the other day. We generally use about 5 millimeters as our thickness of our cherry thin, our cherry wood. Let's see, what have I got here? Is it 4? Is it 5? Can I... Oh, these are different. Look at this. Okay, here. I can't see. Whatever, I can get it up here. Can you see the markings on the... One of these is quite thin. The one on this side is quite thin. What is it? It's just under 4. It's maybe 3.5, and the other one is just under 5, maybe 4.5. So maybe these are 3.5 and 4.5, somewhere on there. And absolutely, I won't be going through the cherry on this thing. We will never see plywood. So even at the widest parts, I won't be going deep enough to hit the plywood. We would never want to do that. The 1.2 millimeters, not the final depth, but the depth the carver should aim for before clearing. Okay, I don't think I would ever want to hit 2 millimeters. If you're trying to push, when carving the lines, if you're trying to push your knife in, here, let's imagine it was here. If you're trying to push your knife in 2 millimeters, you're not really going to want to do that because that puts too much stress on the lines that are left. So the first cut sometimes could be almost nothing more than a scratch. And of course, it's all about how hard the wood is. If you've got a nice, good, super hard key block, you couldn't possibly stick your knife into it 2 millimeters. Now, it's too bad Townsend hasn't been here today because he could offer lots of input on this, ああ、どうもありがとうございます。着払い。ちょっと待って、gotta pay the post guy. Hang on. おいしおいしおいし。今日休みじゃないですか？
休みじゃないんですよ。
なんだ、申し訳ないんです。ありがとうございます。おいくら
？1080円。
お、あるかな。今メガネ、メガネ。じゃあ100円からでいいですか？
1000円で。
50円玉ないですか？
はい、
じゃあどっちがいい？
どうぞどうぞ。
OK。
はい。20円で。
はい。
はい。じゃあ20円。
はい、ありがとうございます。はい、どうも。
はい。またお願いします。
はい、いつもありがとうございます。どうも。The mailman, he's working on a holiday. That's funny because the post office has been closed for the last couple of days. This is auction stuff that I would have bought 2 nights ago. What's today? Today's Monday. So Saturday night I'm bidding, pay through Sunday night. So somebody has taken the trouble to go to the post office, jikangai madoguchi, the window at the back door of the post office. And they've mailed these. And we're receiving them today. It's crazy. Oh, Taran-san's here. Taran-san is here. Soka, I didn't see you, Taran-san. Have you been, like, commenting about the carving and stuff? I haven't been looking at the chat here. Nappy Jenny. Soka. Taran-san is here. Okay, thank you. Yeah, he said I carved much too deeply. Don't get us in trouble here, whatever. Taran-san, were you here earlier then when we were talking about the flow, the idea that Dave keeps breaking it up? I will cut lines, then switch to my chisel, then come back to the cutting, switch to the chisel. Whereas the traditional way, of course, stays with the cutting knife pretty much until the key block is finished, you know. I just found myself making too many mistakes when I did try that way, you know. Lines that weren't cut, and then when I'm doing the clearing, it turns out that stuff that wasn't cut would chip off or split off. So I think maybe right back at the beginning when I was learning, you know, I just sort of did it the safest way. Cut, clear, cut, clear, cut, clear. That was for me at the time the safest way to avoid splitting areas, you know. And then I'd never had any reason to change the way of doing things, you know. It's a curious point for me, you know, if I had, when I got to Japan in the mid-1980s, if I had sort of found somebody who would have taken me under his wing and said, okay, look, let's do this. You know, whether as an official apprentice or just as a guide or something, I don't know. It's very interesting how my situation would have progressed, because I'm not really the kind of guy that's going to sit there and listen. I'm sort of very much a kind of person who I want to do it my own way, and that's the route I chose. But it's sort of also because I never did end up finding a person who was willing to spend the time with me. So I got what I wanted in that sense. But it's an open question as to whether I would have flourished or whether I would have got frustrated and given up under the auspices of somebody who was trying to tell me what to do. And I meant to bring this up the other day. Alan West, I say acquaintance of mine, I can't call him a close friend, we don't spend that much time together. Alan West, an American man, He's living in Yanaka, not too far from here. He's a Nihonga painter. And he's I think I came here in 86. He must have come here. He came here before me, early 80s, I think. And he wanted to learn Japanese Nihonga painting. And he's just published an autobiography, a memoir about this thing. And it was a tad frustrating for me to read it, because although he tells his story and his journey, his venture, he very much concentrates on how he wasn't allowed to come in. People wouldn't show him stuff, people wouldn't teach him stuff because he was a foreigner. And in the world of our printmaking, the technical side of the printmaking, not the artistic side, the technical side, there are no schools of the way this is done. There's no, what's the word? In Nihonga, there are schools. You pick a teacher and you follow his way and you do it that way. In our world here, it's nothing like that. So Alan's memoir is full of stories and episodes about how he struggled to get acceptance. And should he do it his own way, or should he do it the way they were teaching, and et cetera, et cetera. And Dave, reading his memoir, thought, I would never have done that. Not me, I can't do that. Sit down and wait till they accept you, I'm just going to do this, keep out of my way, So as it is, I found the right field, a field where there is no rules and restrictions, where you're allowed to do whatever you want, just. How's our time? Are we okay? What is it now? 9:13. Oh, that's it. We're ready for show and tell. Look at that. How time flies when you're having fun. Okay, the plan now. This is Monday. I have to get this done. I'm a month, 2 months late with this because of my idiot forgetting. I focused on the Patreon chibis. I forgot about the share certificate. So this is a job I'm going to have to get going on. And my chance to get it done is right now. Chiharu-san is sending the blocks back for the May print for this series, and I have to print it. So I've got to get as much work done on this as I can before Thursday. So next Thursday stream might be working on this still, some of the color blocks. Maybe I'll be making paper wet for printing. I don't know. But I am now really, really, really under the gun because I forgot about this. Anyway, here we are. This is what we'll see now for the next couple of streams, I think. Someone's saying you can do whatever you want in any field as long as you find a supportive audience. Not if you want to join a traditional Japanese school or something. If you want to do ikebana or nihonga or Japanese dance or performance arts, no way. You're going to have to toe the line, find yourself a sensei, and go with it. Anyway, enough right now. Let's look at some prints. Does anybody remember a few weeks ago on the show and tell? I might still have it here because I haven't cleaned up. Yes. Do you remember on show and tell a few weeks ago I showed this print? Hands up, everybody who remembers. We learned about it at the time, that the artist was Mukai. I think it's Junkichi or Junichi, Junkichi Mukai. And it was a print made by the Unsodo people in the post-war period as a replica of a watercolor painting. Anyway, it was new to me. I geeked out at it. I was really impressed by it. But Watanabe-san and I then went to work. Can we find some more of these? She has found some more of these. So let's have a look at them. Let me get my mug shrunk down here. She has found some more. She got a broken set. There are 12 of them. It's Minka Juni Kagetsu. Mukai, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry. Junkichi maybe, don't quote me. It's Mukai, that's for sure. Mukai Junkichi, and this is the set. Minka, old farmhouses. Juni Kagetsu, the 12 months of looking at old farmhouses. And she's got a broken set. somebody, one of our contacts, said, yeah, I got some of those, but it's a broken set, can't really help you. And she said, let me see those, because we want broken sets. If we get a full set of stuff, we have to sell this a full set. We don't want to break it up. We can't destroy things. But nobody can afford to pay thousands of dollars for a set of 12 prints. But if we've got a broken set, how many are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's only got 5. So these are going to go out into the shop and make 5 people very, 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 very happy. We've got here, we've got March, February, June, July, and December. Let's put them in order. Let's go to February. And it's from different parts of Japan. It says Tokyo, February. It says Kagawa-ken, March. Saga-ken, June. Yamagata-ken, July. And Kyoto, December. Some guy with the other 7 getting sad. They're gone. We've got the case. Some previous person, a dealer or a person who bought them or somebody, broke this up. My conscience is clear. Let's have a look at some prints. So this is Tokyo, February. Now there aren't too many farmhouses like this left in Tokyo these days. It must say somewhere where it is. Musashino, yeah. It's the area... if you come west from Shinjuku, west and north from Shinjuku, the area is called Musashino. The whole plain used to be the Musashino Plain. And what we've got here now, it's glued in, so I can't easily pull it out and show you the back. We will be removing them, but they're not removed yet. This is a wood block print. It's a wood block print, carved and printed from a watercolor painting. Close it up here and move it around. So everything you see here that looks like painting brush strokes has been replicated with knife and wood. All of this stuff, all this blurred greenery has been broken down into 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, whatever. The reverse engineering involved here is staggering. It's a wood block print, and I think we see some white pigment here. These little white strokes are not the typical ukiyo-e where wood has been cut out. This will be printed on with opaque pigments on top. And there may be here and there opaque pigment mixed in with the greens and stuff to help give it a watercolor painting effect. But what you're looking at, believe it or not, is a wood block print. Now someone's got a question here which I also had when I saw this print for the first time. What are these? Because actually what this looks like, and this is a February design, this looks like mulberry. They look like mulberry stumps when the mulberry has been chopped off. But they're a little bit too close together. And I have no idea what these are. If anybody has any knowledge of the plants that are involved here, let me know. It's something that's chopped in winter and they will shoot up again in spring. This is a February scene. I think it's mulberry. Yeah, someone says typical coppice, yes, but they don't chop plum trees down to that extent. Someone says kua for silkworms, and I could buy that because that's also a kind of a mulberry. And maybe those are coppiced, chopped back during the winter, and leaves start growing. That would be a good guess maybe, rather than papermaking, because there's no papermaking tradition in the Musashino Plain, not at all. Let's move on. There's 5 of them here. These will be going into the shop. I have no idea how much they cost or how much they will cost. I don't have that information in front of me. What is this one? This is Kagawa-ken in March. Oh, and it says, actually it says, an olive grove and house. Olive batake to ie, I think is what it says there. So this one says olives. I didn't know there was anybody in Japan growing olives. That's new to me. And again, the astonishing thing to me, is that these are woodblock prints. The art value is something I don't know. I don't have much thought about this. Who's this? Oh, Miyata-san, good morning, good morning. Someone's saying they grow olives all over Shodo-shima. I don't know, but I can believe it. I'm trying to imagine the carving team, the carvers in the company that made these things. This is Unsodo. And the carving team, somebody, once the project was green-lit, somebody in the business there had to take watercolor painting like this and say, okay, how many blocks are we going to use to make this? And of course, remember, they're a commercial company. They can't just make 100 blocks. They want to minimize the number of blocks possible, minimize the printing time. Someone says, how do they get a soft edge on the image? There's two things involved here. Many of these blocks will be carved with what's called itabokashi. Maybe you can see it down here. Let's find a place where it's easy to see. Okay, let's take this green place here. This block, sharp at the top and fuzzy at the bottom. And the block has been carved. The bottom, it's been rounded off or sanded off a little bit, so that it's blurred at the bottom and sharp at the top. And we see this everywhere. Blocks that are sharp at the top. Oops, get on camera. Blocks that are sharp at the top, but there's no definitive edge at the bottom. And this could be a gradation. The pigment could have been rubbed on the block in a gradation form, or with the one we saw just below it, the pigment is rubbed all over flat. It prints sharp and prints fuzzy. We then have also blocks that are carved like this. Look at the carving. This is scratch carving. It's carved first a line like you saw me carve this morning, and then after it's carved, they will take a knife and beat it up to leave nothing but a broken fuzzy line, giving an impression of a physical brush that's running out of pigment. So there's lots of carving tricks and techniques to do. And then printing, of course, in general, they've printed it with a fuzzy, wet, blotchy type of pigment, rather than the ukiyo, a flat, smooth, deep color. It's been printed as though it was a watercolor. We've also got the use of white pigment here. This white is pigment printed on, and then with some gray on top of it. I'm nowhere near an expert on this kind of printing at all. And how to do the color separations, my God, endless, endless, endless work. And maybe what they could do is they'd prepare, for example, for this roof, maybe they prepare a base block first for a base gray, brown. And then on top of it, they do something else. And on top of it, they keep going until they've got the effect. And some of it may be atenashi bokashi. They've got a block. Let's guess, maybe, for example, this blotchy part in the middle. Maybe the block is that big, and they just rub pigment in the middle of it in a random pattern. And the only way to tell if this is a carved block or a random block is to see more than one copy of the print. And if you can see that same shape right there, then you know it's carved. But if the shapes are a little bit different, print to print to print, you'll know the printer had the freedom to blob it on there. Someone says, how many blocks? I'm sorry, I don't have a clue. Many. Long enough to reach the ground. This is Yamagata-ken, July. Yamagata Prefecture, July. Oops, I got two here. Just a minute. There is a bit of a sameness, though, you know. I have one of these prints myself. I don't know that if I could really enjoy a collection of 12 of them.
Good morning.
Oh, who's here? Oh, Kosono-san, good morning. Whoa, that's one big farmhouse. 3 stories? Ooh. These would be maybe rich places, you know. And I'm sure these buildings are all gone now. The maintenance to try and keep a building like this in shape, incredible. This is not your average little average farmhouse. These are some pretty impressive buildings. Look at the sky. You can feel the weather. Are there windows up here? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they're very, very expensive buildings. And the last one is Kyoto in December. We think of Kyoto as a city, but actually it's very rural. Kyoto is a prefecture, not just a city. And there's many, many, many rural areas in Kyoto as well. Incredible accomplishment. You know, it's not really Dave's cup of tea here. I like the printing, the one I'm doing now, the one you saw me carving. I like sharp, clear lines. I want to see the taste of the brush strokes. And I really like the smooth, flat color. So this kind of stuff, personally, it's not my cup of tea. Somebody just banged their head. Who was it? Urigawa-san, are you okay?
Yes,
Did you like forget? What are you doing?
You know, I was going to get this.
On your phone?
No, I was listening to your stream.
Okay. Yeah, blame it on me. Blame it on me. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Oh.
Okay, there we go. Let's call it a day here with this. That's okay. It's okay. We're just about finished. As I was saying, they're not my cup of tea art-wise, you know. But as a master of a printmaking workshop here, to me, the idea and the challenge, how on earth to do something like this, how to make something like this, is astonishing. I'm so glad to see them, to have some of these, to learn how that was done. And the longer I stay in this field, I'm still getting surprised. You saw me. I got surprised the other day by that picture from Miyajima. Never seen anything like that before. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it coming. Okay, thank you very much. Let's sign off here. It's Monday. I'll be back here in 3 more days. It could be anything. It could be making the paper wet for the print I'm doing next week. It could be, it won't be sizing, that's done already. It could be printing. If the blocks come back on Tuesday or Wednesday, it might be printing. Or it could be carving back at this bench here. I have no idea what's going to be going on. Thank you very much for hanging around and being part of what we're doing here today. I've got a bunch more things I was supposed to talk about to you. I totally didn't get to them. Get to it later, it doesn't matter. Let's put up the outside. The truck there is the delivery of cold, hot towels. It's going to be a beautiful day in Asakusa. Beautiful, beautiful day. Okay, gang, thanks again. I got to get out of here, signing off. Thank you. 3, 2, 1, let's go home.